Welcome back to the Gridiron Address. We're talking divisional round. We're talking mock drafts. You might be wondering, where are all my guests? Well, I got four of them backstage to kick off the show. We're going to be going one by one with them, talking about who they think their favorite team is going to draft in the first round. We're going in order of the teams that are picking. If you've watched the show at all, you know he's been on a lot lately. It's going to be Jason. His Giants are picking at 3. Jason, how you doing today, man?
Fantastic, man. It's a little snowy here in northern VA, but we're doing pretty good, man. Hanging out, getting ready for some divisional football here. Very, very excited. So there's nothing like watching football and it's snowing outside. Just you can't get any better than that, man.
And Jason, like I said earlier, you got your Giants sitting at 3, but you got 2 teams ahead of them that we could realistically see taking a quarterback. So do you think that the Giants are going to be missing out on Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, or does one of them drop, or do they go Travis Hunter?
That's a good question. This is going to be a very interesting draft because, you have those top 2 guys. Well, actually top 3. You got Ward, Sanders, and Hunter. Who's hungry for them? Tennessee, definitely. I could see them taking Cam Ward. I think he is probably out of all of them closest to being kind of NFL ready, where they're going to just throw him in there and let him take the reins. Cleveland's going to be an interesting pick. What do they do? Do they go out and get a quarterback? Do they trade back and somebody else trades up, maybe like a Jets, maybe like a Raiders that want to go ahead and they need a quarterback desperately. So they may be really desperate because, those Cleveland Browns, they need a lot. But the Giants, I think I'm happy with 3rd because no matter kind of what happens, Travis Hunter is kind of slated as the best player in this draft. So if he falls to 3rd and the Giants take them, I'm not going to hate that because I could see us taking a quarterback in that 2nd round because there is a plethora of good quarterbacks in this draft. You look at like a Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord, Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard. Those guys, I don't see them bubbling up to the 1st round unless somebody is truly desperate and just wants to grab them because there's some better talent out there. So if we take Travis Hunter at 3rd, I'm good with that. You talk about an all-around stud, can play both ends of the ball. It'd be just curious to see what the Giants would do with him because I know you're not going to see Iron Man football. They'll make him play on one side or the other. So it'd be curious to see if they draft him, what they want him to be. And then I could see us taking a quarterback. I love Kyle McCord. I'm a Syracuse fan. As you see, I got Syracuse behind me here. I think he was phenomenal this year, almost 4,700 passing yards. So I would not hate taking him. But you also have Milroe, Dylan Gabriel, and Will Howard. I think they have some NFL talent. They just need to be fluffed a little bit and kind of get some experience under their belt. So, but I'm going to go Travis Hunter at 3rd. Let's go Giants. Take the best player available. Don't get caught up in the hype. Sanders, I think, is good and has some potential, but I don't see him being the franchise savior.
Alrighty, Jason, appreciate it. Jason going Travis Hunter, best player available. Jason, I'll see you in a couple minutes. Coming on next, he's been gone for a few weeks, but he's back. He's a busy man. It's Podcast Smitty. Shannon, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good. A little windy here in good old Wilkes County, but I'm ready for football. Ready for today, and then ready for the national title tomorrow night.
Obviously, your San Francisco 49ers did not live up to expectations this year. They're sitting at pick 11 in the 1st round right now. You could say that there's pieces they need everywhere. They could shore up that secondary. D-line needs help. Ayuk banged up. Debo's not what he used to be. Maybe they go for a weapon. Somehow loaded at running back. Their running back 4 is somehow insanely talented, but Shannon, what do you have your San Francisco 49ers doing in the 1st round?
I really think the first priority has got to be the defense. I like the young man from Ohio State, the man on the defensive line. He's a heck of a player. I'd like to see him as well, too. But I got a dark horse for you. Due to the fact that Christian McCaffrey's future is up in the air. Maybe it might be time to go push a button on Ashton Genty.
Ooh, wow.
I think that may be something good there. There's one thing about San Francisco that a lot of people got to understand is the pedigree of running backs that my guys have had. Matt Breida ran wonderful behind the line. Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert, whose money was that Miami paid him was off of that year that he went off in the NFC Championship for the first time when we went to the Super Bowl. That running back core is really, really good. We got some good running backs in there. I'm a little worried about CMC. I know that he's not a franchise guy anymore. It doesn't look like it's going to be. He might have to take a back seat, but I think somebody like Ashton Genty might be somebody that they could take. But I think the defense will probably be the biggest thing that they'll have to look at more than anything is the defense. Yes, so you talked about the secondary. The secondary is something there, especially in the safety department. Hufanga was hurt a little bit. Our cornerbacks had a little trouble. But our guys, one thing that about the defense is that our front seven is a good front seven. You've got Fred Warner, who is wonderful. And might I say, if they're not playing with my emotions, Robert Saleh could come back as defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. That is if Facebook and Twitter are not playing with my emotions right now. I would like that because he's a very good defensive coach. He took a head coaching job, of course, and we saw what happened with the Jets. Poor guy. But as a defensive coordinator, it would be great. So I think that San Francisco will probably push the button on a defender, especially that young man from Ohio State. If he has a good national championship tomorrow with that running game that Notre Dame has got, and he's got to stop that running game, there's a possibility that the defense might be the first thing off the board.
And are you referring to Tyreek Williams or Jack Sawyer?
Oh, Tyreek Williams. That's the one I'm thinking. I was thinking of his name. I couldn't remember it. Now, Sawyer, on the other hand, he's another guy that could be really, really good, but I think Williams will probably be the one that I'm looking at here.
Shannon going defense, or maybe Ashton Genty out of nowhere at 11. Maybe not entirely out of nowhere. We know running back isn't as highly valued as it used to be. We're seeing teams do more running back by committee, but it'll be interesting to see. Shannon, appreciate you. I'll see you in a couple minutes. Now, this guy, he's gonna be a little cocky when I bring him on, because to his credit, he made a great pick. He picked the Commanders over the Lions. He's got his Dallas Cowboys picking at 12. It's Boom Broadcasting president Michael Davis. Michael, how are you doing?
I am not happy because the Commanders won. I'm happy that I told you so. I told Shannon, I told Trevor, I told all the people in the comments, told everybody that Detroit was going to flub up, overlook the Commanders, and guess what? Now my division rival, probably both my division rivals, are going to be in the NFC Championship game, but I'm sure we'll cover all of that.
Yeah, for sure. We are touching on that later, but Michael, your team was dealing with injuries all season. They could not stay healthy at all. Rough season for Dallas. Mike McCarthy is now out. Who do you think that they're going to take at 12, possibly go for a running back, or do you think that they try to add some depth to that defense?
So that is the question right now. Podcast Me just upset that I took his spot here on the Gridiron Address. Don't let him back in. You're the host, but don't let him back in.
He's coming back. Don't worry. He'll be back.
Okay, whatever. Just don't bring Jason back. We don't need that Giants fan in here either. But I was going to say Ashton Genty. I think if Ashton Genty is there at 12, then we take Ashton Genty. But Shannon was a little unspecific when it came to his pick. Sometimes it looked like he was taking Ashton Genty. Sometimes it looked like he was going defense. There is a name on defense that would be pretty cool. Abdul Carter, the Penn State defensive end. I feel like that's worked out. He
is not going to drop that far. You got Carolina who's going to snipe him. There's plenty of teams that need that kind of edge rusher.
Dude, if Abdul Carter or Ashton Genty drop, those are the picks I'm taking. But I think Dallas at 12 can still snag McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona. I think Dallas really needs somebody to take some pressure off CD Lamb. Jason needs to Jason just needs to calm down. He would love us to throw away a quarterback like Dak Prescott. Just saying. Just saying. He would love that. But no, I feel like we could get McMillan. Not knowing what this defensive scheme is going to look like, depending on who comes in as head coach, who comes in as defensive coordinator. You just need a dude. You need a dude who can take pressure off CD Lamb, take pressure off the run game if Ashton Genty's not on the board. And I feel like CD Lamb has emerged as a number one now that Michael Gallup's gone, now that Amari Cooper's gone. But at the end of the day, you need a second receiver. Jalen Tolbert, he's done fine, but he's not a 1B to CD 1A. And I think McMillan fills that void.
Michael's going Ted McMillan out of Arizona, another guy who might drop, but I haven't done a full mock yet, but I really think he could go before 12. I think there's some teams that could go for a receiver. Vegas. They're always going to be the Oakland Raiders to me, but Michael, appreciate you coming on for this little bit. Maybe I see you in a couple minutes. Maybe I don't. Who really knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? But last but not least, he's been on this show the most out of any of my guests. He's functionally the co-host at this point. Resident Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He's finally back home. Chris DeLuca, how are you doing today?
Well, I am back home, and I woke up this morning and looked outside, and there's a foot of snow on the ground. So maybe I'm not so happy to be back home. But overall, I'm happy that I did finally manage to make it back up here, even though trying to walk to my car, I almost slipped and fell into the road. So you almost lost your man here.
Oh, God. That's rough. But, Chris, Steelers made the playoffs again, but as we've said in previous episodes, just a late season collapse and a really disappointing end of the year for Pittsburgh. It's a tricky situation because the defense feels like it needs more, but the offense should be prioritized because they've just not been good enough. They need weapons outside of Pickens because he's shown that he isn't really mature enough to function as a wide receiver one in the NFL. Late first round pick for Pittsburgh. What do you think they go with here?
It's tough. It's tough because, there are some decent receivers on the board here. I really would like it if Mbike would fall. I don't know if he will, but there's not a lot of teams really in front of us that need around that part of the draft, I guess, that really need receivers. The Chargers are one pick behind us, and the Chargers obviously need receivers. But if Mbike could fall, that would be fantastic. McMillan as well. The reason I'm more leaning in BK is because he is very versatile and he's good in the quick game. It would just be a guy to complement him, like you said. George Pickens clearly has a maturity issue. And then outside of that, we clearly saw what happened when he wasn't healthy for those games. The 2-3 games that he missed, it was really, really bad. One of which he showed up late to the game anyway, the Kansas City game on Christmas Day. And I think that might have played into him not even playing. But this isn't about him. I really think we should go in BK or McMillan. If either of them go, maybe a Jalen Walker. I mean, that's kind of what a lot of the mocks I was looking at before the program had, because our linebacker core is great with Highsmith and Queen we got from Baltimore, but another complement to that would be fantastic. So I'm going receiver. We're going to generally say it, but let's say MBK as long as he's there.
I also want to throw out Luther Burden out of Missouri. I think he's going to be there that later half of the first round. I think he would be a great compliment to George Pickens as well. As far as the Panthers go, I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going Abdul Carter if he falls. If not, Mason Graham or just the best defensive player available. If Carter and Graham are gone, I think Malachi Stark, safety out of Georgia, would be a great addition. Carolina desperately needs help at secondary. They got J.C. Horn, Mike Jackson, and that's just about it for their good secondary players. But now we're bringing everybody back in. Jason, Shannon, And Michael, we're talking yesterday's games. We're going to kick it off. Chiefs Texans. The Texans were able to hang in there to their credit, but Kansas City's got some dark magic going on, and by dark magic I mean maybe a little money under the table here and there. You never really know. You hate to see it. I wish we didn't have to deal with this because it's fun to watch a great quarterback be great. We need to appreciate greatness while we're watching it. It's something I didn't really do with Tom Brady. Got to try to step back and we're watching a really good quarterback right now. The refs make it hard, though. It is really, really hard to root for the Chiefs in any capacity, in all honesty. But Texans offensive line, Stroud, second most sacked player in the NFL this season. It's been shown last year with Bryce Young, this year with Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud. Young quarterbacks cannot play behind a terrible offensive line. They will not succeed. You cannot do that to them. It's going to stunt their growth and set them back. It's already an uphill battle to play quarterback in the NFL. It is a hard position, and you're making it significantly harder for them. Michael, I'll kick this to you first. What are your takeaways from this game for each team?
So my takeaways for the Chiefs-Texans game is, guys, I hate the refs got in. Okay, well, I told you exactly what was going to happen. I told you that the Chiefs were going to win. Okay, that was one game that I got right. Maybe there will be a second we can talk about. But you could just tell that Kansas City had been there before. Are we not going to talk about the Texans giving up 8 sacks on CJ Stroud? You're not going to win games not blocking. And there were some wide open stuff. I don't know how Travis Kelce, of all people, get as wide open as they would during this game. It was just course as usual. They were able to coast. And then, of course, you're outside. You're in Kansas City. It is super cold and windy. And are we even going to talk about Fairbairn leaving points on the table? He missed 2 field goals, guys. One of them was from 55. I'll give him that. But he also missed an extra point. Okay. This team lost by 9 points, and your own kicker left 7 of them on the board.
I'm just rough stuff from Houston, that offensive line. They need to fix that in the draft. Free agents, get some guys in there, spend big money on that offensive line. It is a unit that you need to invest in when you have someone that you believe is a franchise quarterback. Like we saw in Carolina, they spent big money on that offensive line, and it looked a lot better. Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, 2 great guards. Akeem Ekwonu finally picking it up and starting to play like the player that Carolina expected him to be when they took him early in the first. Drew Code Sports Talk, Texas defense came to play. Too bad their offense couldn't keep up. Could not agree more. Be sure to check out his stuff, YouTube, everywhere you get your podcast. Friend of the program, Michael's been on his show a couple times. Be sure to go check him out and support him. But Travis Kelce, best game of the season. He is stepping up when they need him to step up. Chris, how much longer do you think Travis Kelce can keep doing it? Because it feels like, last couple of years we saw him slow down a little bit. But like we saw yesterday, he can still produce big games when he needs to.
I think he can do it at least for a few more years. I mean, I can't really give an exact number necessarily. I mean, maybe 2, 3, just to make one up, or 4 even. I wouldn't say 4. We'll cap it at 3. But I think more of the reason, I think more of the reason why he wasn't producing at the fantasy level, that at least fantasy for all intents and purposes, is because of the system that the Chiefs are using right now, especially in the absence of Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce was always that safety valve for Tyreek Hill because he was always getting double teamed pretty much because of his speed. But once he went down to South Beach, Kelce kind of became the number 1. But again, he becomes that guy that becomes double, triple teamed all the time because of his physical traits. So I definitely think he can continue to do it. And I think a lot of his success is based on the offensive system that Andy Reid is running, which, again, like we were talking about before, they pull black magic out of a hat somehow. And they always find ways to win, and that's with not so great players. That's with spreading the field. So yeah, I say 2-3 years he can still do this, is just depending on the system that Casey's running at the time.
And what are your takeaways from both teams from this game?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to say about it. Kansas City did Kansas City. I mean, they just found ways to win. They got those sacks. George Karlaftis went absolutely crazy. Anytime I really felt like the Texans were going to push, and they scored, they were going to score quick or have a quick drive, boom, 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 bam, sack. They're down back-to-back sacks. Even CJ Stroud just was running for his life. And hats off to CJ Stroud, though. My take on the Texans is kind of what I thought. This is exactly the way that I thought. They would keep it close, but they wouldn't win. And hopefully they're in the right direction, because it's looking a little bit weird long-term with them. It's either boom or bust.
Shannon, takeaways from this game. Texans offensive line struggled. Their defense showed up. What do you think they might need to do in the offseason?
One thing the Texans have got to do is learn how to stop the rain, stop the flooding. That the floodgates were open in that game. It was just every time CJ Stroud stepped back, there was 2-3 guys in his face. But what we got to understand also too with Kansas City, it's not their offense that's getting it done for them. It is their defense. They have a very sneaky good defense. They know what they're doing. They keep the games very, very close. They had it within reach, and Houston had it within reach. MD is right. When your kicker leaves points on the table like that, and trust me, from a squad who had a kicker that left points on the table almost every week, I get that. When your special teams gives you your special teams is supposed to be your security blanket if you can't get it into the end zone. They're supposed to be automatic, and Houston didn't have that. And that's what put the game within reach. Now, I'm going to go another route. And in this one, CJ Stroud, on the other hand, is showing that he is actually a very good quarterback. You got to help that man out, because the running game was a little lackluster. They brought Mixon into the offense this year to give them some type of push in the running game. And the push wasn't really there, but you can't really kill Mixon for that because Kansas City's defense. But Kansas City does what Kansas City always does. They find ways to win. Playoff Mahomes is an animal. Trust me, I know that too. That man is an animal. And so Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, it's hard to bet against that dude. So I can't say enough. I'm one of those people that I don't like to look at experience, and I think experience is overrated. Looking at you, Detroit Lions. There was supposed to be some type of, they've been here before. The Lions ain't been here before. But Kansas City has been here, but Kansas City knows how to do it. They know how to win. They find ways to do it. And it's hard to go against Kansas City in the playoffs. It's home field advantage for them all day long, and they know what they're doing. Houston just got outclassed.
Jason, to end this recap, takeaways from this game, and you think Kansas City is going to march back to another Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, watching this game was a lot of fun. You can see Kansas City definitely has their playoff swagger. They just kind of coast through the regular season, and then when they get to the playoffs, they flip a switch, and you can see that. Houston, they had a chance, but there were some questionable calls. I mean, everybody had some great points. Offensive line, you don't leave points on the board. The questionable calls. I mean, you got 4th and 1. The play clock is running down, and you don't call a timeout. That was the biggest play of that game, that 4th down, where they didn't make it, and that just took the air completely out of that team. So I think coaching staff wise, that was just not a really good called game. Your star quarterback is back there getting killed and is running for his life. Call some plays, put another back there, bring another tight end, do some chip blocks, do something to give him so he can stay upright and get the ball down the field. Because when he got it down the field, I mean, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz showed up that game, had a great game. Michi had a couple of great catches. So when CJ Stroud had time to throw the ball, he could get the ball down the field, but there was no run game. The coaching staff really let him down with the play calling, and that fourth down just was like the nail in the coffin. Something that important, you got to call timeout, burn a timeout, get yourself a play that's going to put you in the position for success. Because if they would have got some points out of that, it would have been a completely different game. But Houston, I think they're going to be in the playoffs for years to come. But this is Kansas City's years to lose. I mean, Kansas City will get to the Super Bowl. It's crazy to say that again. But it is hard to. Michael Davis, you got it. I mean, they are hard to beat right now. Patrick Mahomes, just when you think you got him down, he does some crazy acrobatic. That Superman flying in the air when he threw that touchdown to Kelsey, when he was essentially vertical getting tackled and let that ball go. You just went, wow, okay, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. So it's going to be super, super hard for someone to beat Kansas City because they still got it. And that defense is what's leading them to the promised land. They got good offense, but that defense lead them to the promised land. And Travis Kelce, I think if they win this year, I think he walks away. He's got a lot of things going on outside of football right now with the acting and the girlfriend, and you guys all know that kind of stuff with Taylor Swift going on. So I think Travis Kelce shakes it off, gets his third ring in a row, and just walks off into the sunset.
Maybe a fourth. Maybe he hands out a fourth.
Okay, he's gonna propose at the end of the Super Bowl.
Oh my God!
They said that last year.
Internet.
Their honeymoon's going to be at Disney World.
That would break the internet. Holy cow!
Look,
You already know.
that'll do it for this Chiefs-Texans recap. We got another game to talk about. And, Michael, I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. So, yeah, we'll just be going back and forth, me and him, muting him. But the Lions absolutely fell apart. The Commanders super aggressive on fourth down. Lions were not able to stop it with that banged up defense. 18 players on IR for Detroit, just too much for them to handle. But one particular play, there's two, but 12 men on the field, that was just sloppy. That was brutal. And also the trick play where Jamison Williams threw an interception, ridiculous. In that situation where you are trying to come back from behind, you do not run that kind of a play. No. If something's not open, tell them to just throw the ball away. Don't force it to them and throw an interception. Infuriating. I'm not even a Lions fan, but they're a fun team to watch. I hated to see them go down like that. Shannon, I'll kick this to you first. What were your thoughts on them running a trick play in a situation like that?
Here were my thoughts right here. Why? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so Jason and MD, we were on Out of Pocket, and Jason brought up that, Dan Campbell's play calling, that could be probably a recipe to get him fired. Whoa. You called that one, buddy, because I don't know. Why? I don't understand. I mean, and Dan Campbell's a good coach, and he's got the fanfare and everybody behind him, and Detroit loves him. But I say this, I guarantee you there was a lot of people getting online and cussing that man for doing that. Most of that game, it was cussing anyway. But I guarantee you after the game was over and they watched all the highlights, there was more cussing and throwing stuff at the TV. I guarantee you, like H.H. Gregg and all them places right there, stacking up TVs in Detroit right now, because that was insane. I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming. Michael Davis did. I know who he is. I'm glad he can't say anything right now. So, Mike, what you got to say? Nothing. That's right. But that being said, why? Why?
Just
I know why.
Terrible decision making. We have a comment, Michael. I'm going to unmute you for this.
All right.
Drew Code, Michaels and Eagles went away from being put up for adoption.
Guys, be nice to me.
Rough.
I'm trying. Oh no.
But
Your poor father. Your poor dad.
Poor father. What about poor me?
Michael,
I got room for you, brother. Come on over, man. I got room for you down here.
Michael, what were your thoughts on that trip play? I mean, just mind-boggling stuff from Detroit in a really serious situation.
Well, dude, that was a play called for desperation because the game was already out of reach. The game was already over. Once Washington would go up 17 points in that game, when everybody else was like, oh, Detroit's going to win by 17. They're going to win by 20. They're going to win by this. I'm like, guys, these coordinators have head coaching jobs in front of them. You know what that does to a man when your dream job is staring you at the face and you're like, do I go ahead and get this job? Do I finish with my previous job, or do I work this 2 to 3 weeks notice and then put myself further back or take myself completely out of the running for a coaching job? Some organizations will not wait for you to get done with the Super Bowl. They may just say, hey, we have an option who can start right away. Let's go ahead and hire them. So Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, they knew they wanted to be a head coach in the NFL. And boom. I mean, he already put his 2 weeks notice in, just played the Galford. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And
No,
it's like, I told you so. Like,
It's all finished the job. It's
Look,
all
they
finished
didn't, though. They didn't.
They wanted to. There is no
Did
way
they?
that those guys did not want to
Job,
get a
man.
Super Bowl for Detroit. Absolutely no
Job.
shot. I don't think Dan Campbell would work with anybody who doesn't want to go out and finish a job. You saw how devastated that man was at his post-game press conference.
Yeah.
That game
Was
clearly
Ben
hurt him.
devastated? Was Aaron devastated? Because they're about to
They
get a
were
lot of money.
They
This
care.
year.
what?
They want to win. No coordinator in this league doesn't want to win. This team had Super Bowl aspirations from halfway through the season. They were looking great. They are obviously devastated by this loss. They're not going to take it lightly.
But
Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, both more than likely gone to head coaching jobs. They're great coordinators. Let's not let this game ruin that. But I do want to throw this question out there, not to say that I agree with it, but it's worth discussing. The Lions defense obviously banged up, but they didn't really come to play. They were giving up big play after big play, constant fourth down conversions. Chris, do you think this Lions defensive performance hurt Aaron Glenn's ability to get a head coaching job? Would this performance sour him for certain teams?
Yes and no. I mean, I kind of knew this was going to be a shootout overall. I think we all kind of knew that with how Washington's offense has been trending. Obviously, there were injuries. I was concerned. I think, weeks ago, it was like week 5 or 6, Aiden Hutchinson went down. We talked about this on the show, Aaron, like that was a concern for Detroit while they were still contenders. That leadership being gone and that presence from the edge there being gone was very concerning. And I think that it was kind of a recipe for disaster. I was worried about it, snowballing, so to speak, because I have a foot of snow outside right now. I was kind of worried about that happening, and it did. It did. And I don't necessarily think it hurts Aaron Glenn. There were some bad calls. Obviously, the 12-man on the field was rough, but that happens. That's kind of part of the game. So I'll say that maybe yes and no, but if I was a GM looking for a defensive mind head coach, Aaron Glenn would still be my number one candidate.
For sure. Jason, I'll throw that to you as well. Does this performance hurt Aaron Glenn's appeal as a head coaching candidate?
I don't think so. That was solidified during the regular season. This is a slight hiccup that just kind of leaves that not in your stomach, like he left something out there in the field. So I think when he does move on and gets that head coaching position, he's always going to have that a little nugget of unfinished business left. First thing I want to throw about this game is Jaden Daniels is that dude. There is some people that have ice in their veins, and he is cold-blooded. He was not shook. This game did not give him any kind of problems. He was just cool, calm, and collect. You go to Detroit, that whole stadium is going against you, and he played phenomenal. So give him props for having a phenomenal game. 2, I was watching that game last night, and I kind of attribute it to watching an old school boxing match. You get that one guy that's the prohibitive favorite. He is the cocky guy. He's out there dancing. He's doing the wind-up punches. And then the guy comes in the ring and gives him 1-2, boom, and he's on the ground. And he gets knocked out by the lesser-known individual. And that's essentially what the Detroit Lions did. They tried to get cute. Look, that first trick play that they did was phenomenal. Everybody was like, holy cow, that little reverse that they did, boom. But then you got cute. The play calling was horrible. You have Gibbs, who runs the ball like a monster. Run the ball, kill the clock. Guys, get out of there with the win. You don't have to try to blow up the score. You don't have to try to, drum up 50 points against everybody. But the real reason why they needed 50 points is because that defense was just decimated. So I feel bad. The Lions made it this far on a wing and a prayer with that defense. This, I think, if anything, this hurts Jared Goff because he has all the weapons that most quarterbacks right now would kill to have. And he had a bad game. And a lot of it has to do with the play calling that was played. They were trying to get cocky and cute, and they got knocked out.
And we got to talk about the Washington side of this. Just phenomenal stuff. Jaden Daniels, a rookie quarterback, calm under pressure. Like I'm just insanely impressed. Phenomenal performance from him. Like we said earlier, aggressive on fourth down. They were getting those conversions. Shannon, I'll throw this to you first.
Easily.
Can Washington keep up this momentum, upset the Rams or the Eagles, and make the Super Bowl?
I'm going to tell you what. I would like to see it. But I'm going to tell you what, with Detroit out of it, it's up for grabs. I really feel like it is because, Philadelphia came out here very, very dominant in the past 14 games. They've been one of the most dominant teams in the NFL in the last 14 games. The Rams beating Minnesota, which I'm happy about, although I don't like the Rams because they're in the same division as my 49ers. But this will be a story. This will be a story if it happens. I really don't think that Washington will get past Philadelphia. That is pending Philadelphia beating the Rams. I think that they will. But Philadelphia's defense is a very tough defense. I really think, even though Nick Sirianni has had some trouble being mature in certain aspects of this season, I think Nick Sirianni has got that squad playing really good football right now. Saquon Barkley is the man right now. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that you've got 2 quarterbacks that could be dueling for MVP, you would have to give it to Saquon Barkley for MVP. Washington has a very wonderful chance of doing so. I think they do. I'd like to see it. But as of right now, I don't think so, but I could be wrong. And I would like to be wrong.
I want to see him pull it off. I think they got a real chance, but that Eagles defense, a healthy unit, unlike Detroit, that might be too much for Washington. We still got to see how that Rams-Eagles game plays out. Chris, throwing this to you next. Can Washington keep up the momentum and continue a miracle season and make a Super Bowl?
They looked really good. And I think, regardless of who they end up playing, whether if it's the Rams or the Eagles, it's going to be competitive. I think that if they play, I said this last week with the Texans against Kansas City, and that was what it was. If they play like they did and they've been playing against either one of those teams, they could definitely beat any of the teams left in the NFC at least. Kansas City would probably Deuce, I don't know. With our luck, it'll be like Washington, Kansas City, and it'll be like 28-3 again or something. But Dan Quinn. But yeah, I think that they have a chance. They have a fighting chance. They looked fantastic. Yes, they played against a banged up defense that looked really bad. That's 2 playoff wins under their belt. They're 2 away. They're halfway there. I think they have a chance. Are they my number 1 pick? No, but I would love to see it happen.
For sure. Michael, your Commanders, obviously your division rival. I misspoke.
Yes.
Division rival, Washington Commanders. Phenomenal season. Unlike your Dallas Cowboys, are they going to keep up the momentum? Are we going to see an all NFC East NFC championship? Do you get put up for adoption? Does Washington make the Super Bowl?
How is it that I can be an unbiased sports analyst on a sports show and say not what my heart feels, but what's actually going to happen?
It says it all over your shirt.
And then still get crap on air while we're live as your guest. I don't know. How, only me, right? Only me.
It's fun.
Only me. Only me. So it really depends on who wins this Rams and Eagles game. As you guys know, I picked Philadelphia to win. Unfortunately, I did pick that NFC East showdown and the NFC title game. But with Washington, if they meet up with Philly, it's pretty much over.
They split the regular season with them. December 22nd, Washington got a 36-33 win. Eagles beat them earlier in the year. So, Washington beat Philly while Philly's hot. You never know. I think the Eagles would have the upper hand, but we do need to be honest. This was a competitive game while Philly was playing really good football.
But if the Rams end up upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles today, then Washington could have a chance. I like Washington's team over the LA Rams, but again, all of these guys are going to have to go through Kansas City anyways. It's just a matter of, who's going to get the consolation prize.
Yeah. Jason, another NFC East fan. What do you think's going to happen? Washington going to ride this momentum, make a Super Bowl? Do you think we're getting an all NFC East showdown?
It's going to be interesting to see. Look, Washington has the recipe for success. They've shown it the past 2 games. They have great quarterback play right now. The offensive line is holding up. Jaden Daniels was not sacked once in that game. But history is going against Washington right now. There has been, in the history of the NFL, 0 rookie quarterbacks have made it to the Super Bowl. So this is a huge, huge hill to climb. And I think them making it to this point is phenomenal for the Commanders. Look, I'm here in Northern Virginia, and I can hear the screams from my window. My whole neighborhood done blown up after the game was over. So it was definitely crazy. The Commanders have a shot. They look phenomenal. They just beat the juggernaut. I mean, everybody had the Lions penciled in the Super Bowl. No questions asked. And they just smacked them in the mouth and beat them on their own turf in their own building, where the tickets were averaging $800 a ticket. It was the highest ticket average, ending I think it's Ford Field history or whatever it was. So the Commanders have the recipe to win. They've beaten 2 very, very good teams on the way to get here. And I think this bodes well. What happened last night, I think, put the Eagles on notice, because now they see that, holy crap, anybody can come in here and beat us in our building. So we better be on our game. So I guarantee the Eagles know what happened last night. And man, you talk about a great game. If the Eagles do win, we'll get to that. And then you have that NFC East showdown. That is going to be huge. But I think it's a tall task to get a rookie quarterback into the Super Bowl.
For sure. And it's time to move on. Rams-Eagles preview. We've been talking about it a little bit. Eagles obviously favorites in this, favored by 6.5 points. Chris, I'll throw this to you first. Can the Rams ride the momentum of a dominant wild card victory over the Minnesota Vikings, or will Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, and that really good defense be too much for them to overcome?
They're getting healthy at the right time. The Rams are getting healthy. And that was actually my pencil in for an upset because I had Detroit. I picked Detroit. And that was my pick. I think 6.5 is a bit much. I think this game is going to be a lot closer simply because the Rams really beat up on a very, very good Vikings team that Mayer had a defensive collapse and an offensive collapse at that. And the Eagles are really, really strong. That offense is strong. So it is basically a great offense with a great, I'd say good defense. I mean, they got something really going. Nakobe Dean being out is a big deal. But I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to stick with my guns here. I'm going to stick with my upset. And I think that the Rams are going to win this by 3 simply because of getting healthy, spreading the field, Matt Stafford making good decisions. If they maintain this pace, they could definitely make it to the NFC Championship and get to host a playoff game in Los Angeles, which would be really good for the city.
For sure. Who knows if it'll even be in LA? Will they be able to host a game? I don't know if you can really have that kind of event going on when that city still needs to rebuild. Who knows where it would be hosted, because it's 2 teams on the opposite sides of the country. Obviously, rough decision to make. Shannon, can the Rams pull off an upset, ride that wild card momentum?
One thing we can say about the Rams is in the past 12 games, they have not allowed a 100-yard rusher. But when the Rams met the Eagles this season, Saquon Barkley ran all over the place. I do not expect anything less from this Philadelphia squad. The Rams have played very, very well. And yes, the Duke is right. The Rams are getting healthy at the right time. But I think Philadelphia is going to be too much. I don't see Philadelphia running away with it. I'm just going to say they're going to be 7 points. It'll be a 7-point winner because the Rams are going to play. What a lot of people got to understand is that playoff football, playoff anything, is different. This is a new season playing right now in the playoffs. Everything's erased from the regular season. You just got seedings, and that's all. If the Detroit Lions did not explain that to us yesterday, we learned that right now. If you didn't know then, you learned yesterday. So I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles in this game by 7 points because the Rams are going to come out there and play, but they're just going to run out of gas in the fourth quarter.
Super interesting game, obviously. Michael, throw this to you. What do you think is going to happen?
It's going to be how they're saying it's going to be. You have a snowy game. You have cold weather. Saquon ran for over 200 yards against the Rams defense earlier this year. Yeah, that's before the Rams started putting a little bit of the things together. But you have a team that can move the ball through the air with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. You have a team that can run the ball with Saquon Barkley. And when you play Philadelphia, you play a team who you don't need. Okay, we need to stop with the production aspect. You need to have our production team gross. You need to have you totally got me, man. You totally got me. You need to have the mindset that you have to beat Philadelphia in 4 downs versus 3. And if you're telling me that you have to hold them to under 2.5 yards per play to beat them on the road in the snow for a LA West Coast team, it's not going to be good. That's why Matt Stafford struggled against Green Bay and a little bit of Chicago too, because he doesn't like that cold weather, and that's going to be their kryptonite tonight, unfortunately.
He's always played indoors too, his entire career.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Always played indoors. Yep.
Jason, end off this recap. Can the Rams do it? Pull it off? Stop the all NFC East championship? Or is it
Listen,
going to be?
what the Rams have done last week is phenomenal, especially the adversity that they were facing. But right now, that team is tired, and now they have to fly from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast and play in a heavy snow, and just cold weather. It's going to be a heavy snow, so this is going to be a fun snow football game. Guys sliding around, snow angels when they score a touchdown, etc. But this is going to come down to offensive line versus defensive line. Who's going to be able to block who? Can that offensive line of the Eagles get that run game going, get Saquon going downfield? They also have Gainwell, who's been playing very well. This is going to be kind of the short passes, because I think the kind of game this is going to be running backs and tight ends. You may see a little jet sweep or something, or you may see some slants from the wide receivers, but there's not going to be any deep stuff down the field if it's going to be a heavy snow, which hurts the Rams too. Look, they got a good run game too, but it's nothing like Saquon Barkley. And again, them coming all the way to the west, from the West Coast to the East Coast, with everything they've been going through, the travel, the emotions, everything, I think that's going to weigh heavy on them. Eagles in the tush push, there's nothing that can stop that. So give me the Eagles. I think they're going to win. It's not going to be by a lot, because I think this is going to be a low-scoring, sloppy game. But the Rams, I think, fall short. This is the Eagles' game to lose. And I just talked about it a little bit a second ago. The Lions put them on notice, because at any given moment, that underdog can come in and smack you in the mouth. So I think the Eagles are playing with a nice heightened sense of security right now. That they need to go out there and win this game and not let the Rams come in there and beat them. So give me the Eagles. I think they're just a little too much, and they've been here before with this kind of weather, with this kind of team. Saquon runs all over them again.
Not quite a clean sweep for this panel. I got to go Philly too. I think it's going to be too much. I'd love to see the Rams pull it off, though. I think that would be phenomenal. Like Chris said, they're healthy at the right time, playing their best football at the right time. It's just not going to be enough. Philly's got too much. Yes, Nakobe Dean's out. That defense is still absolutely loaded. But moving on, we got Bills-Ravens, a phenomenal game that I'm really looking forward to. I'm gonna miss a little bit of it, because I got to go back into work at 4:00 because snow hit and most of the people can't make it in, which sucks. I'll be able to catch the second half though. Ravens only a 1-point favorite, even though they absolutely destroyed Buffalo earlier in the season. Michael, what do you think is going to happen? Are the Bills going to avenge their loss to the Ravens, or are Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson going to prove to be too much and move on to face the Chiefs at Arrowhead?
Man, I'll go ahead and say this. This has been a fun Gridiron Address. This has been a blast. It's so good. All the people on the screen, I get to see them bits and pieces with Aaron, Chris, Jason, Shannon. I don't get the opportunity to have all these guys on Out of Pocket all at once, but the people you see on your screen right now, as well as the rest of the Boom team, have made a lot of sacrifices to their time, their energy, and they have just supported not only creating their shows and doing all the work with that, but in addition, like supporting each other's shows. And, all these guys are, very quick to hop on and help out any way they can, or share or watch. And, it doesn't go unnoticed. So Aaron, solid job bringing us all on to the show. I had to get a little sentimental since you guys have been making fun of me today. So I told you guys what was going to happen in the Chiefs game. I told you guys what was going to happen in the Lions game. I told you guys, and the Eagles game. That's a pretty foregone conclusion. I've been telling people for months that the Baltimore Ravens have put together the team. If Lamar could enter the playoffs healthy, if Derrick Henry could enter the playoffs healthy, then game over. Like, game over. This Buffalo game will be hard. Josh Allen is playing at a really good level, but I don't trust Josh Allen in the playoffs. I also don't trust Josh Allen not to turn the ball over. With Lamar and Derrick Henry, they're fresh. They're I mean, it's almost unbeatable at this point, unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs, of course. But everything's working to perfection. And the only reason it's only a 1-point game is because it is in Buffalo. That is a tough place to play. But if there is a team mentally and physically tough enough to do it, it's the Baltimore Ravens. It's Lamar, who's having the best season of his career, even better than his MVP year last year. Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs in the NFL today. And you have John Harbaugh, who's won a Super Bowl before with a lot less and a lot older players. Lamar and Joe Flacco were actually at the same age for Joe Flacco's Super Bowl and now for this year with Lamar Jackson. Do they get there? Probably not. It's still Kansas City, but kudos to Baltimore for getting to the AFC Championship game.
For sure. Baltimore obviously absolutely loaded on offense. Jason, what do you think is going to happen this game? Buffalo obviously going to try and avenge that brutal loss to the Ravens earlier in the year. But
hold on, I'm getting some information here from a source. I'm getting some insider information.
That's the only way you've been getting picks right on Out of Pocket.
Look, Lamar Jackson and his record in the playoffs is not very good either. He was a little bit of a fumbleitis there over the years. So Lamar hasn't made it to the big dance either. This is going to be a huge game for both guys. It's going to really come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. This is going to be a good game. I still have Buffalo. I still think Josh Allen gets it done. Look, Cook is not Derrick Henry, but he's still playing really, really good football, and Buffalo Bills can still run the football. Ty Johnson has come out of nowhere for the Buffalo Bills and has made some phenomenal plays. Secure making some plays. Cooper, if he can get a good game, I think they got a shot. But Josh Allen is going to put that team on his back and go and beat Lamar Jackson. I think it's going to be a tall task to go into Buffalo with it being cold. I don't think it's going to be as heavy snow, but there may be some snow. But I think it's going to be tough for the Ravens to go in there and win that game because that Ravens wide receiver core has been a little bit suspect. No Zay Flowers. It's going to be a little bit interesting to see what happens with that dynamic. I know Andrews has been playing a little bit better, but Lamar Jackson needs to not be Lamar Jackson because that's how he fumbles. That's how he just makes some bad mistakes and some bad plays that hurt them. So give me Buffalo in this because nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So I got the Bills winning by 7 points in this game. So I just think the Ravens, this is not their time yet. I still think they got some work to do.
Drew Code also trusting the Bills. Thinks we're on a rematch, Bills-Chiefs. I would love to see it. I'm going to back Buffalo. I'm going to do it, possibly against my better judgment. I got to see it, though. I want Bills-Chiefs. That's going to be some great TV. Chris, what do you see happening? Is Buffalo going to get revenge, or is Baltimore going to move on to a tough AFC championship matchup against the Chiefs in Arrowhead?
So I'll tell you, it's a lake effect snow warning for Buffalo. I just looked it up right there.
Okay.
Lake effect snow warning. It is going to be down to the run game. And like Jason mentioned, James Cook has been fantastic. Derrick Henry has been on another planet. He's been on the only other person on that planet is Saquon Barkley right now. He's a heavy hitter, uphill runner, will keep his footing. He has great balance for his size. I think it's going to come down to the run game. And number two, it's going to come down to the passing game. And while Josh Allen has actually last interception was against New England, and that kind of meaningless towards the end of the year game, but he's had some bad ones, like his game against the Colts, like his game against the Chiefs. Lamar Jackson's last interception was the game versus the regular season finale versus the Steelers. They were the last team to do that. I believe it was Alex Highsmith. I can't remember. It was some Peyton Wilson. But anyway, Lamar takes care of the ball. Derrick Henry is an uphill runner. Lake effect snow. Give me Baltimore winning on the road.
For sure. And to your point about also coming down to the passing game, the Ravens will be without Zay Flowers for this game. He's not expected to play tonight. Shannon, what do you think is going to happen? Lake effect snow. Is Baltimore going to be able to go into Orchard Park and get the win?
It's like I said on Out of Pocket this Friday. With this matchup here, you are hard-pressed to find a better quarterback matchup this year than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. This is what a lot of people wanted to see in my eyes. I think this is the AFC Championship right here because the matchup, the way the matchup is. And I'm going to stick to my guns. I think be prepared for some extra football, guys. I think this is going in overtime right here. I think that's going to happen. And like, Crystal Lucas said as well, the Duke said it best. The running game with Baltimore, with King Henry, he's been on another planet running the football. Lamar Jackson's going to get his just desserts because of King Henry. I feel like that's what it's going to be. That was the X factor. If King Henry would have been playing last year, I think the Ravens would have won the AFC and went to the Super Bowl last year. That's the only wrinkle in this game to me that is going to give it to the Ravens. Josh Allen is going to play his tail off. That nothing to lose offense that he is quarterback this year. Supposed to have a down year this year. Didn't happen. That offense has been playing well. The teamwork has been amazing with what they've been doing. And a lot of people thought that it was Josh Allen's fault why the Bills fell on their face last year. That was not the case. Josh Allen has been what has brought that squad together. He should win MVP this year. He should. I doubt it because I think Lamar Jackson is going to get a three-peat and MVP. We'll talk about if they should look at playoff performance later when it comes down to the MVP. We'll talk about that some other time. That might be something for Quick Hits this week. Hint. However, Ravens going to win it. Walk-off touchdown, Derrick Henry. They're going to the AFC Championship. They're going to go see Patrick Mahomes and the fellas in Arrowhead.
Well, that'll do it for the divisional round edition of the Gridiron Address. Thank you all for coming on. This has been a really great episode. I was super happy to be able to get a bigger panel together. I think this will be something we'll hopefully see more of in the future with less games to cover, get more guys on so we can, fill the space, maybe do more hour shows. I love that we could run this for an hour. I love talking with all these guys. Oh, hey, I just saw that. I don't like that. My headline was changed to Michael was right. I guess that was a parting gift from Michael that I just caught now. So he did that on his way out. Shout out to him. He had to hop off early, but always happy to have him on too. Thanks to y'all for coming on. Thank you all for watching.
Appreciate it.
Let's
Yes.
watch some good football tonight and afternoon.